Universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
In some ways, Mamdani, who's a self-proclaimed socialist, doesn't sound that different from other progressive Democrats.
We will take on corporate landlords and cap unfair rent increases.
It's time to stop protecting billionaires.
Every single thing he says, even right down to, that there shouldn't be any billionaires, is merely an extension of what Elizabeth Warren has said.
We need universal child care in this country.
What Bernie Sanders has said.
It's insane and absurd. You got people with hundreds of billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars. The system cannot afford them.
He is radical for the Democratic Party, but he's also just being more honest about the policies that a particular wing of the Democratic Party have pushed for a long time.
Why do you think this particular race has become a countrywide story?
Because it's a referendum on where our party goes.
Mamdani isn't the type of socialist who thinks the U.S. should just be a little more like Denmark. He's a seize the means of production kind of guy.
It is critical for us to both meet people where they're at and to also organize for what is correct and for what is right. If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But then there are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production, where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment. And what I want to say is that it is critical that we do not leave any one issue for the other, that we do not meet a moment and only look at what people are ready for, but that we are doing both of these things in tandem. We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism.
Mamdani's ambition is nothing less than leading the vanguard of the new American socialist movement. His message is resonating with young voters in particular, who turned out in record numbers for Mamdani in the Democratic primary. Socialism was tried and failed repeatedly in the 20th century, racking up a death toll of 100 million lives. Millions more still live under socialism's long dark shadow in North Korea, Cuba, and Venezuela. So why does the socialist movement never seem to die? I've been posing that question to some smart cultural observers and reading some of the world's greatest political economists on the topic. I've come away convinced that the culture necessary to maintain a free society is slowly deteriorating, and we need to do something about it. The writer and legal analyst Inez Stepman says Mamdani is primarily a cultural phenomenon.
The pure economic analysis of Zafran just fails to account for the cultural worldview and ideology that is very clearly not only part of his candidacy, but to me is a central piece. And it's a central reason why people are voting for him. It's a central reason why he's risen up and why he's popular with a certain band of people. It does touch something in us that is deeper and somehow more politically potent than housing regulations.
Mamdani says it wasn't Marxist economic theory that first drew him into the Democratic Socialists of America.
My journey in organizing and my journey in politics began with Palestine. It was and continues to be something that I deeply care about. I came to this country when I was 7 years old. As soon as I got to any kind of level of political consciousness, the contradiction around Palestine struck me.
He's very, very informed by anti-colonial views. I think he is very informed by his own background. There's a kind of, some people probably call it beautiful, I call it, terrifying meld of third world resentments and modern sort of elite woke views and anti-colonial views. I think it's the same thing that's turbocharging the Palestinian protests in New York City. Look at the signs that say Queers for Palestine, and they're like, what is this, right? Don't you realize you'll be thrown off a building there?
The Venezuelan writer Carlos Rangel called this broader ideology third worldism, which rests on the idea that pre-colonial societies were socialist paradise. The so-called noble savages lived in communal harmony before European imperialists came to pillage their lands and to impose savage capitalism, brutal individualism, and a rigid social hierarchy. Third worldism conflates imperialism and capitalism, which is why Mamdani has said that socialists and Palestinians are, quote, fighting the same struggle.
The reason that I joined DSA, if I had to pick one, was because there was no exception for Palestine. was because the same fight and the same struggle was understood to be a universal one. And this was an organization that not only understood that, but sought to lift up what was going on in Palestine by endorsing BDS. And so I'm in this organization because we did just pick and choose the battles that everyone was ready for in this very moment, but because we picked and chose the battles that were right and that are extensions of the values that we have as socialists.
Stepman, a libertarian turned conservative, says libertarians overemphasize economic arguments when countering Mamdani.
The way that I read Mamdani's politics, it's almost a register that a lot of libertarians just don't see, like talking to somebody who's colorblind about the color purple, right? They don't see this cultural messaging, or they see it as incidental or disconnected or something that can be divorced. They are not recognizing a register that is fundamental to human politics since the ancient world.
Irving Kristol, the founder of neoconservatism, made the same observation in 1972 when the future Nobel laureate Milton Friedman invited him to speak before a classically liberal audience at the Mont Pelerin Society. The topic was, why does socialism persist? Kristol's answer was that the enemy of liberal capitalism today is not so much socialism as nihilism. For Kristol, the fading relevance of organized religion in liberal capitalist societies left too many people with a God-shaped hole to fill. When there's no promise of a cosmic justice in the afterlife that will right life's inevitable wrongs, we're more prone to seek justice through politics. Socialism exploits our yearning for cosmic justice.
And I think about the words of Dr. King decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
To Mamdani and other socialists, justice means more equal distribution of wealth, which is why he wants to abolish billionaires.
Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country.
Libertarians believe that justice encompasses the right to private property and to retain the fruits of one's own labor. Those who end up as billionaires through a market process don't relinquish the right to keep what's theirs. Not to mention, the rest of society benefits most from the success of exceptional individuals. Still, some people get rich dishonestly, others are victimized, and luck can play a big role. The children of wealthy professionals have a head start, which feels unjust. So progressives often champion social justice to engineer a more equal outcome, as shown in the famous meme. In reality, socialists often achieve greater equality by making everyone poorer. Socialists like Mamdani see capitalist profit as inherently unjust, and they think the government can run things better, which is why they advocate seizing the means of production so that the socialists can more equitably divvy up the profits.
If there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now.
To libertarians, injustice happens to individuals, not political classes, and it's remedied via individual compensation for damages, not continuous social engineering. By focusing on specific instances of injustice that violate an individual's right to life, liberty, and property, liberal capitalist societies build institutions with a predictable and universal set of rules, allowing for the type of long-term planning that leads to prosperity. Kristol said in 1972 that this libertarian version of justice was once the dominant